A few days ago, Bethesda showed off the upcoming update 44 on their livestream. The three main things were the new battlegrounds, the new Scribing Support ability, and the new companion. In this video, we're only going to talk about the Scribing ability, since that's the only thing relevant for tanks. And well, I'm gonna complain. So the new Scribing Support ability is a banner that you place on your back, which then grants some buff, depending on the focus script you chose, to you and all allies within 8 meters. It doesn't have a duration. Instead, it comes with some drawback. Again, depending on the focus script. For example, a physical damage focus script increases martial damage done by 6%, but decreases your recoveries by 33%. Fire damage focus script increases damage done with dots. Magic damage script increases magical damage done. Mitigation script reduces damage taken. Immobilize script makes you immune to crowd control, but has a bigger penalty, because it reduces your recoveries by 40%. So where's the issue? Well, this banner has to be put on both bars to work, otherwise it will disappear. This means that if you want to use this cool new ability to boost your teammates, you'll have to make your own tank gameplay much harder, which is fine and fair, but also you'll have to make it much more boring, because you'll be basically permanently giving up 2 whole skill slots for a passive skill that you only press once. ESO already has very few skill slots compared to other MMOs. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing, because it does manage to still make it interesting, because of having no cooldowns, etc. But taking away any further skill slots is just too much. If you're a tank who wants to use this banner to support their team in a difficult fight which requires major protection and thus it requires revealing flare, you're left with 3 buttons that you can actually press on your front bar, and 4 on your back bar. It's especially weird to look at because, judging by the Mender's Bond scribing skill, it looked like ZeniMax learned a lesson after Guard. Guard functions similar to Banner. You press it once and it stays on, and it also has to be double barred. If anything, Guard is more engaging than Banner because it can break if you step too far away from your teammate, so you have to at least look out for it and reapply it whenever it breaks. Mender's Bond is a restoration staff scribing ability which came after Guard, and it looks very similar to Guard, but functions differently. It isn't permanent, it has a duration, and doesn't have to be double barred. So, you get to actually interact with it because it isn't entirely passive, and it doesn't take up 2 skill slots, so you can slot another skill with which you can interact. It feels so much better to use than Guard, so I don't understand why ZeniMax would walk back on this progress they made design-wise. There already are passives in the game, there's no need to take away our very limited skill slots just to give us another passive. On top of that, they have been changing some skills to provide their passive bonuses on both bars. So this weird decision with the new scribing skill is completely out of nowhere. The banner could simply be an ability with a duration, maybe even a really short one if they want to keep the buffs it provides this powerful. It could even keep the recovery reduction, because I think making your gameplay more difficult as a trade-off for getting access to these banner bonuses is fine. What isn't fine is when ZeniMax tries to make gameplay more difficult by taking away skill slots, because while it does make the gameplay more difficult, it also makes it much more boring. Take a look at Sorcerer Tank from a few patches ago, back when your only reliable self-heal was the Clanfear pet, which you had to double bar. It didn't feel that good to play, and the new Sorcerer Tank who can self-heal with Hardened Ward and Vibrant Shroud feels so much better to play. And it isn't just my opinion because the player statistics also confirm it. If you go to esologs.com and look at percentage of Sorcerer Tanks in different patches, their percentage grows significantly ever since they could ditch Clanfear. If the banner goes through like that, there is absolutely zero chance you'll be able to fit it on your tank in dungeons. If you're a tank player, go look at your skill setup that you use for dungeons, and think which 2 abilities would you throw away for banner. I guarantee you, as a dungeon tank, you have too many important duties. There are skills you just can't remove, or removing them would end up in even worse support for your group, if you brought banner instead of them. The opportunity cost just isn't worth it. In trials, I could totally see banner being used in more organized groups, where you can rely on others and you can efficiently spread duties. But in packs, there's absolutely no way. So what it's going to do is, it'll increase the gap between unorganized and organized groups even further, which is exactly what ZeniMax has been trying to prevent, with stuff like gutting the light attack empower. I do, however, want to praise the recovery penalty, because I think it's actually a great way to reward good tanks with even more group support. Sustaining resources is that one aspect of tanking where skill expression is the most visible. There is a massive gap in sustain between an inexperienced tank, holding block 100% of the time, and an experienced tank who only holds block when it's actually needed and squeezes in heavy attacks in every possible opening. Creating more abilities with this trade-off where your sustain gets nerfed, but in return, you're buffing your group even further, is a great idea to reward skill even more. And at the same time, it doesn't screw over new tanks, because it's just a bonus on top of everything else. A last step once you've mastered everything else. Now before the end, I have another small, silly pet peeve, which isn't really a serious complaint, but I was hoping that we'd actually get an ability with which we could proc Meritorious Service. Meritorious Service is basically a defensive powerful assault, which procs off of support skills instead of assault skills. And the reason it's not really usable is because none of the support skills fit well. Siege Shield is too expensive, Guard cannot be recast constantly unless you waste a GCD on cancelling it, Purge is too expensive, and Flare is too expensive. And now, we're getting a support scribing ability, which is basically a passive that costs 2 skill slots. So we won't be proccing Meritorious Service with that either. But again, it's not like that would make Meritorious competitive or anything. I just thought it was funny that out of now 5 support skills, none of them can be reliably used to proc it. And that's it for this video. If you have any more questions, you can comment down below or join our Discord server Wildheart. As always, feedback will be appreciated. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe to my channel and check out my Twitch. Thanks for watching and see you next time.